Hello. Okay. My phone took a minute. Oh my goodness. I am going for a walk with my dog. And so I was going to hop on here and do Wellness Wednesday. Wellness Wednesday always sneaks up on me. Tuesdays are so busy, and then it's Wednesday. I am Dr. Patty Ford, and today is Wellness Wednesday. And I wanted to talk today about when is it time to say no to food? What a interesting concept. Um, a lot of times in my practice, we really focus on saying yes, and let's add more foods in, and let's do all of the things that include all the wonderful foods that give us all the wonderful nourishing nutrients. Um, in society right now, a lot of the dieting world is being exposed for what it is. I just learned yesterday that there is a big dieting company that's been around since the 80s and 90s. It's no longer going to be in business. And it's fascinating to watch because for 30 years, 40 years, this dieting company that really, 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 really focused on weight management is now doesn't have any money to profit from. And I have had a personal experience recently where I am getting, I have varicose veins. They are very genetic. And the surgeon actually suggested that I lose weight in order to continue with my varicose vein treatment. And I thought, okay. And I didn't really suggest my background. I didn't suggest anything. I was suggested I was none the wiser. And I thought, so you're telling me with my current height and weight, you are suggesting that I lose weight in order to help with my varicose veins. And he's like, yeah, I think you could lose 5 or 10 pounds. And I thought, okay, sure. So I wanted to kind of act like a patient and say, okay, what could I do to go lose weight? What would be something interesting? What could I try? My brain went to what would be quick, what would be something that I could do it just so I could do this varicose vein treatment. So I actually sought out different ways to lose weight, and I ran into different avenues and I didn't suggest who I was. I just went in as a patient. I wasn't going to go in because you can't treat yourself. And I went in and I had lots of different providers suggest low calories, as low as 1,200. I had different providers suggest different shots, different things. Not one provider suggested a dietitian or coaching service. Not one provider suggested any sort of behavior therapy. And I don't know why our brains work that way. I don't know why our brains in the healthcare system automatically think of a pill or a potion or a restriction. And so, is there ever a good time to say no to food? I think sometimes food is meant to be this life-giving energy production, but we live in such a society with so much surplus most of the time where we have to continue our environment, we have to continue to fend off messages of food, the access to food. Food surrounds us all of the time. And so a good time to say no to food if it's too much. If there's too much happening, it's okay to say no. It's okay to build a boundary and say, no, that food isn't going to serve me right now. Now, the excessive part of saying no can lead to disorders. The excessive part of saying no because your nervous system is blocked, because there's fear of food, there's fear of weight gain, that can be a problem. But that's a small percent of the population. And if you are suffering from that, please reach out. I have the ability to navigate that really well. But if you're not, if you have a reaction to food or a relationship to food where it feels good to say yes most of the time, and then there's consequences or there's guilt or shame around that, it's okay to say no. And sometimes we call that gentle nutrition. Sometimes we call that listening to your body, where you don't want to have the food that is served, but then you feel pressured because of social pressures or peer pressures or etiquette or just different things. It's okay to say no. And I'm writing a book right now where the co-author and I are calling this like the empowered no, where maybe you're just not hungry. Maybe you don't actually want that food. It's okay to say no. And this philosophy, this principle, you can apply to relationships. You can apply to a spouse, a partner. You can apply to finances, where saying no is actually really empowering. And not no and then justifying, just no is a complete sentence. No is something that you can say and it be okay. No, I'm not going to tolerate that type of behavior right now. No, I don't want to go to that event right now. That's okay. You don't have to justify it. No, I'm not going to come to that meeting right now. I'm taxed. I empower you. I encourage you to, in order to say no, you do have to determine what you want. So in order to establish that boundary, you have to do the first step is you have to have awareness. And that's really hard if you're flooded. That's really hard if your nervous system is so on fire. You feel overwhelmed, you feel anxious, or you've shut down and you feel depressed and you just feel like there's so many things coming at you. You freeze. And I've been in both places. So I'm not speaking, again, I'm speaking from experience and also speaking from an expert point of view, is you can't have executive functioning in the brain. Executive functioning is when you have clear, decisive decisions. You get to, you choose to, you want to. If you're operating from, oh, I've got to do this, I have to do this, you're operating from like a not 100%. You're operating from an obligation, and then that leads to burnout, and then you have no joy. And if you have no joy, you're not going to be able to experience connection or creation or all of these wonderful aspects that we have as humans because you're taxed. And then it's so hard to say no. I watch my dog eat. I watch my kids eat. Yeah, and I was just talking about this with my kid's preschool teacher. He's not eating his full lunch. He's 3. And both of us agreed when he's hungry, he'll eat. And from birth to 5 years old, kids honor their hunger cues beautifully. Us parents jack it up. We totally do. And so, yes, we can give structure, and I send like chicken and pasta and some things that he likes and some things just to hopefully he'll eat because he's exposure to it, like carrots or whatever. But if he says no, honor that. Now, if the 3-year-old says no and then asks for cookies, that's different. I think that's a different conversation. But if they're not hungry and they're saying no, listen. If someone is not hungry and there's no mental disorder and they're saying no, listen. Say, okay, I'm going to honor your no. I'm going to honor your boundary with food. If someone's saying, no, I don't want to hang out right now, honor their boundary. And if your intuition says, maybe I should just double check that that no is because that's just their boundary and I can honor that, then maybe you do need to push them. But really listen to people when they tell you no. For you, if you're watching and you're trying to figure out, when do I want to say no and what does that feel like? When am I full? When am I satisfied? When have I had enough in food and money and life and relationships? I can help you figure that out. I can help you figure out when do I get to say no? When am I choosing to say no? When do I want to say no? Because you get to have that choice. If you've navigated trauma or you haven't had that choice, where things have been outside of your choice, outside of your control, this can be very confusing. And you need space to kind of navigate that with food, relationships, finances, business. Being forced to do something is terrible. And then that is you're going to have to re-navigate how to get back into your nervous system in a grounding moment. And that might take some time. So if you want to navigate any of this together, I have a practice that takes insurance. I also have a practice outside of insurance that we get to color outside of the lines in a really beautiful space, where we can do some transactional things like meal planning, but then navigating underneath the deeper layer of what's happening is much more beautiful, and long lasting, because a meal plan is easy. It's hard to follow through, but it is easy. All right. If you have any questions about an empowered no, when is a good time to say no? Please reach out or leave a comment or share this. I will be sharing it to my business page, and then it'll be on my YouTube. I would love any interaction in either ways. That would help my business. That's my ask. And if not, and you're just following along for the ride, thank you so much and happy Wellness Wednesday. Okay, bye.